Good morning. Imagination is the ability to live in an idea. Live in an idea till it becomes your reality. Share a story with you about that. Long time ago, my husband, you know, the physicist guy I talk about so much, we lived in Ventura County. We decided to move to Washington State. And he worked currently consulting for a company near Chicago. So he'd spend 2 weeks in Chicago. He'd come home to Southern California. We'd either pack to get ready to move, or we'd come to Washington and look for the perfect place that we wanted to move. Oh, that went on for several months. And finally, on a plane ride home, he was quite disappointed that his research and his data gathering and his analysis had not yielded the perfect residence and place with which for him to do his business. And he said, I don't know what's wrong. I said, well, we're either out of sync with the universe, and he rolls his eyes, or we just haven't landed in looking at the right place. He said, whatever it is, you do this better than me, so you're in charge. I said, okay, I'm going to record that, remind you that you said that. And we came back then, and we started an exhaustive search all over again with whole different parameters, and so that went on. And finally, in Tacoma and in Gig Harbor, Washington, we found a couple of houses that we thought suited our needs. We put in applications. Well, then you just wait for 3 days. So this was my home territory, and I hadn't had a lot of opportunity to share with him my home state. So we decided to play tourist for those 3 days. We set out one morning to have breakfast. Now, for weeks, months, literally, I've been reading real estate ads and watching and looking. And so I'm still in the habit. Even though we've got things cooking, I'm reading the rental ads. I opened the paper, and I swear to you, a little ad went woo, 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 off the page. And I said, honey, I believe I have found our house. And he kept on reading his portion of the paper. He said, no, you said the applications, they're over there. I said, no, apparently I'm wrong. And so I called the number, and 1 hour later, we had a lease signed on a house in Silverdale, Washington. Yes. And how we got there was in all these misfiring trips that weren't working out, we had settled on visioning what this space would be like. I didn't care about bedrooms and bathrooms and square footage. I said, Hugh, tell me what it's like when you get up in the morning and walk into your workspace. Tell me what that's like. What's it look like? What's it feel like? How does it support you doing the creative work that you do? And I'd probe with questions, and he'd narrate. Then he'd say to me, Margie, tell me about your perfect sewing studio, because I used to be a textile artist. And I would just go on and on and on, painting the story of what our house, our home, our workspace, my creative space would look like. And we had been in that process. And do you know that house in Silverdale, Washington, that went woo, 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 matched all of that description that we had been talking about all of those literally months. Imagination is value neutral to us. It doesn't discern the good versus the bad for us. It doesn't understand whether what we're focused on is a constricting situation or a life-affirming and expanding situation. It doesn't matter to our capacity to imagine. So we must guard how we use this incredible tool. And our imagination is a gift. It's one of our God qualities. In Unity, we practice expanding into our Christ nature by focusing each month on a divine capacity. The image and likeness of God in which we are created is exemplified by all these 12 capacities that are within us. And this month we celebrate the power of imagination, this divine creative force that allows us to shape the world in which we live. And if we're envisioning our future, the universe, this power of imagination, this expression of God, also demands of us that we become the people who can live in the future that we are envisioning. We have to step in to what we are calling ourselves to be. So, we need to then, wouldn't you say, guard and encourage the power of this capacity for our benefit, for life expansion and life affirming activities. Don't be using that imagination for awfulizing, which is remembering or thinking about all the awful things that might happen, out there in the future, or remembering all of the awful things that have happened in the past. You are cementing yourself then in that which is opposite of God's will for you, which is only good, only that you live a fulfilled and rich and abundant life, abundant in all ways, abundant in health, abundant in rich relationships, in the power of love moving in your life, abundant, yes, in financial resources, abundant in your capacity to be compassionate and empathetic for yourself as well as all those you interact with. Sometimes we call this daydreaming. And I don't know about you, but I do have the ability to be daydreaming in a mindless and unfocused way. What we are inviting ourselves to experience is this focused, intentional capacity to imagine life differently than it is right now, to imagine in a mindful way what we choose. And if we do that, we become conscious dreamers, conscious intentionalizers, and we shape our world. We shape the whole world, as Catherine invited us in our prayer this morning. This capacity of imagination is part of our divine design as godlets, to fully express who we are through these total of 12 capacities, to be the creators in our lives. Indeed, we are assured that God created us in its image and likeness. That doesn't mean the image of the white man sitting on a throne, long beard. I wouldn't look very good in that imagery, I think, in that physicality. But I know I look good with my imagination on fire. I know that I look good, if you will, in the world when my capacity to love stretches beyond whatever is my current understanding. I know that I am reaching that godness in myself when I make use of these capacities, especially the creative power of imagination. What we teach in Unity is that God creates ideas. And the rest, folks, is all up to us. We take those ideas and we clothe them with our spiritual understanding. We shape them from spiritual substance. And the way we clothe them is with language, with feeling, with our picturing in our mind. Reverend Jack used to say, it's the feeling that gets the blessing. So when you are imagining, live in that experience that you desire until it becomes real. Live in that space of knowing what it looks like. Close your mind and envision it. Sit in that space, live in that space, feel what it's like. Let yourself in your inner sight reach out and touch this experience or this feeling. Sometimes it helps to think environmentally. When I'm sitting in that vision, I remember that I want a space where when I open the windows, the sun shines in and the breeze moves through. So I feel that breeze moving in my space as I'm sitting in my sewing machine, creating something. Well, about all I do these days with my sewing machine is mend or hem, but I'm going to have that part of my life back someday. Retirement must be filled with something someday. So imagine what it looks like, what it feels like, what it tastes like. If you want to draw the perfect relationship to you, know what that would be. Know it as fully as you can with your intellect, which is also one of our gifts, and feel into it with this imaginal nature, this amazing gift. Because you remember one of my favorite statements from the good Dr. Einstein is the intellect is a fabulous gift. It should never be in the driver's seat. But our clearly focused, intentional imagination That's how to successfully drive our lives, to move them forward to places we choose to be. One of my favorite Unity authors is Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett. Currently, she is our director of Silent Unity, our prayer ministry at Unity Village in Lee's Summit, Missouri. Reverend Linda defines our imagination as having three qualities. It's our ability to conceive an idea. You ever have something, just a thought, an idea, just sort of like drop into your mind? That's that wonderful capacity. And then we get to make it our own. Its origin, as I said earlier, God creates ideas. The idea that the next great idea that you're having drops into your mind from the mind of God, from the infinite mind, from the unified field of intelligence with which we are connected. Think of Larry's song and Larry's talk when you forget that you are not, that you are always connected to the presence of God, to the creative collective power in the universe. You are infused with that. So our mental conceptions and conceiving flows to us from this infinite mind. That's our Unity teaching. And the rest of us gets to play in the field of painting and creating and shaping and molding those ideas into the experience that we will end up having. Sometimes an idea comes and we just go, I'm of an age that when I was in high school, your high school counselor gave you an aptitude test before you went about applying for college so that you might have some information, some data my husband would approve of, for you to determine what might be the course you would be interested to follow for your life. I sat there with as big a poker face as I could manage at age 15 when Mr. Graff shared with me that the results of my aptitude test for my career path, my direction in life, the thing I rated highest in, anybody want to guess? Minister. Good choice. That's the one I pursued, Bonita, Bonita said. But minister, it was all I could do to not laugh in the man's face at 15. Now, my relationship with God was very important to me, but it did not include a career path, at least not that I know. One of my mentors early on in Unity said, if it's not yours to do, you can't make it happen. And I'm here to tell you the rest of his advice was, if it's yours to do, you can't escape it. And that would be apparently true. It took 3 decades for me to settle into that, but here we are, knowing that Mr. Graff won out that conversation after all. Now, the ideas that we shape can only reflect our consciousness at the moment. So the highest that we can imagine is all that we might be capable of working with in terms of imagery and that sense of feeling it and living into it. The good news is, God doesn't share the box that we may have for our life, as Larry told us. We can only work at a certain level of consciousness, but when we remember to include the power of God, then sometimes way more than we can imagine even shows up. You know, like somebody who's in a little church in Bremerton, Washington, and lands in Honolulu, Hawaii, with Sky St. John and an incredible team of people. That was certainly more than one might have imagined for the creation of her direction once she said, okay, yes, God, I understand. Ministry is where you intended me to be all along. So our spiritual understanding, which is another one of our 12 divine capacities, is the filter through which any idea that lands in our mind begins to have shape, begins to have reality. So we are invited to shape our consciousness first, and we do that through prayer, meditation, study, expansion, connection to God, being in that presence, seeking that mind of God for our understanding, in addition to using our intellect to capture data. Because optimism, trust in a universe that has our good at its heart, at its core, that it's a friendly place, faith, apply those to the expansion of an idea and you create something life-affirming, something beyond even your imagination. And you get better results than when you apply things like fear, anxiety, and doubt with your imagination. Remember, we're going to focus in the energy of God to breathe life into our dreams. So these ideas exist in an infinite field of intelligence, which is a fancy name for God for me. We can use lots of descriptions that help us to understand how we move more effortlessly in our life as a companion with God. So we take these ideas and we shape them as our own according to our consciousness, according to the development of our Christ mind. And so when we are paying attention to that aspect of our life, we are developing all of these divine capacities, including our imagination. So we continually seek a deeper understanding. We continually seek to be aware that we are always in the presence of God and God is acting through us, and to up-level the mental filter with which we meet God, shape our lives, and create our own reality. The second quality that Reverend Linda brings to our attention is this capacity to vision, to see it in our mind's eye. I think it was Reverend Mary Mannon Morrissey who said, everything that exists has been created twice, first in mind and then in form. So if we were to create something, we have to conceive this idea first in our mind and match to the energy of God mind to elevate our consciousness so that we can bring that formless energy into the form that we choose, whether that's something material or whether that's an expression of who we are or an emotional state. We're forming it all. And I invite us to be more conscious of how we are creating, how we are using this power of imagination. Charles Fillmore, our Unity co-founder, described imagination this way. It's a faculty of mind that images, that's a verb in this case, images and forms. It's the power to shape and form from thought. This faculty takes the formless and helps us give form to that which we desire. With our imagination, we lay hold of ideas and we clothe them with substance. Now, all of that is good Unity teaching language. So these ideas, we clothe them, as I said. We give them color, we give them shape, we give them touch, we use the sense of hearing and smell to really live into that idea. That's how we clothe an experience, how we clothe that which we want to form. And we're forming out of it, of what Charles called the universal substance. I sometimes call it the matrix. But what it is this level of our consciousness, our thinking ability, that is the foundation of our living. It's the foundation of our spiritual understanding. So whatever foundation we have relates to our ability to gather spiritual substance to us from which we shape and create reality. It's that force that Larry spoke of. Now, we can use this visioning process to either project out in the future and establish something, call an experience to us, imagine where we are headed next. It's also a gift in that we can revision the life we have already lived. Most of us have had experiences earlier in life, in our childhood perhaps, or anywhere along the way, where we took on a message that didn't reflect the truth of who we are, didn't tell us what divine beings we are, and that we hold these amazing capacities. We may have taken on some limiting idea. And the process of visioning can allow us to rewire our neural net and cut off the branches that hold those ideas, reframe, rewire, and create a different experience, a different memory that holds a different pattern for us, thereby letting go of unconscious behavior that might have arisen from some negative experience earlier in our life. How freeing would that be to know that there is a tool that we can let go of past injuries, past wounds, past experiences, and simply shape them into something that serves our growth, something that serves us positively now, that we can comfort and heal those previous experiences. So our past is not the emotional driver moving our present. We have this gift to revision moments, to reclaim our own wholeness by seeing and recreating in our mind. The third quality Reverend Linda mentions is embodying. That we have to be that person that can live this experience that we are imagining. That our future events stand on some grander, higher vision of ourselves. It requires that development in our spiritual journey, in our emotional makeup, to be able to stand in some place wholly new and different than where we might be right now. To be ready to take on that which we are hoping to see. Reverend Michael Beckwith with Agape Ministries used a visioning process that came to him in meditation to build that spiritual community, to have a positive impact not only all over Southern California, people drive for several hours when they were meeting in person, to attend church at the Agape Ministries, and people from all over the world literally are connected because he had the capacity to use his imagination and those of a whole team of people to shape creating that community for positive change in the world. Visioning is so simple, and yet we forget to do it. We forget how to use these tools, and believe me, we all practiced as kids. Now we're just talking about doing it intentionally. Reverend Michael's very simple process consists of 5 questions. What's Spirit's highest vision for fill in the blank? Creating something new in your life, creating something new in the world. What's the highest vision that can come through you expressing God? What must I become to empower this vision? That living as this conceptual idea. How do I have to, what new greater self do I have to step into before I can manifest this goal? And just as we do with our quantum living process every week, the question is asked, what must be released? Because there are no obstacles out there. All of the obstacles are somewhere lurking in here. And what must I let go of so that I can experience this greater, higher vision? What then, having released, what must I embrace? What new skill, what new thought process, what new attitude do I need to embody so that I can step into this vision? And then finally, you just simply let Spirit speak. What other information would be helpful at this point, at the moment I'm asking, right now? What does God need me to know to empower this process? Questions arising out of divine wisdom and that infinite field of intelligence. And in case you want to actually dive into that specific process of using your imagination, our Cindy Hensley, a religious science practitioner, is certified in this particular visioning process. And Cindy has agreed. I don't know if we've set this exactly yet, so I'm calling you out, Cindy dear, all the way there in Alaska. No, I cleared this with her. She is willing to form a group in our community that would meet with regularity to enjoy and employ this process. isn't that one way we can support our ministerial search for the next right and perfect capacity minister to serve our community? So stay tuned, because Cindy and I will work this out, and you will be invited to join us and engage in envisioning parts of the life of this community, envisioning your own dreams. So I ask you, what dreams want your attention? Do you need to heal something physical? Then you imagine what the original pattern, what the divine design and function of whatever isn't working optimally in your physical being. Imagine what that function looks like and feels like, and what it would be to live in that perfect wholeness once again, and restore that imprint of your complete health and wholeness. Are you seeking to change where you live, or you want to change your job? Then, as I described earlier, what does it feel like when you walk into that space? What's it look like? Touch something, be present in that space, live into it, clothe it with color and sight and smell and taste. Know where the air blows when the windows are open, all of that. Do you need to heal a relationship? Then imagine joyfully being engaged in that relationship, dancing in the experience of it working with absolute perfection. Experience the wholeness of a healed relationship in your mind, whatever it is you want, right here, right now. My latest adventure in imaginal living, 3 years ago, I had a hip replacement surgery. And I said to my doctor, now, I need to be able to dance again, because this has just been way too limiting. And the doctor said, I'm going to put in the right kind of joint for you then, so you get extended use. You get extended mileage in this surgery. I said, that's for me. And when I came back from my follow-up visit, I said, I've noticed a little imbalance. And I was experiencing a 1/2 inch differential between my two legs that had not been present before. He didn't offer to open it up and readjust, no. His suggestion was that I get lifts on my shoes. Oh, and you know me well enough by now. No, I'm saying in my head, that is not the solution I'm having. And so I did put lifts on all of my shoes, but I knew these were temporary. My intention was that this was a temporary situation. And so I went and bought some slippers, cut them apart, and with duct tape, attached an elevation on the bottom of my shoe. Duct tape. Been doing that for 3 years. I recently discovered, quite by accident, that my legs have almost equalized. Because I have imagined for 3 years that I would be on this platform in heels, not flat slippers. No elevator thingies duct taped to the bottom of my shoes. It was quite by accident that I discovered it. I didn't pack a pair of shoes for a trip to California last month, and I got a new pair of shoes, and when I put them on, I thought, well, next I need to go and find the stuff that I use to make them, balance out. And I'm walking around, I'm going, wait, something's wrong. Wait, I don't know what this feels like. Something's wrong. I didn't need the elevator thing for my shoes any longer. So I unpacked all the shoes I had with me, and do you know what a satisfying sound it is to rip off duct tape? Yes. Pitched those slipper things away and went and bought high heels. Now, this is really important to me for one particular accomplishment, and I have some support to illustrate this. Where's my support? There he is.
We have to physically distance.
Yes, this is physically distanced dancing. How do we do next? Woohoo! So what dream do you have on hold? Don't wait 3 decades to answer the call of your heart, but keep imagining and living into the truth you want to experience. And I don't know if high heels will be your answer, but I hope dancing with passion in whatever dancing stands in for. I hope that's your imaginal experience. I hope that's the dream you step into, whatever it is that calls your heart. So let's get to work right here, right now. Take a deep breath with me. And know that you are centered in the infinite field of intelligence. You are whole. You are gifted with the skill to clothe, to color, to paint the life that you choose. So hold something in your mind at this moment. A desire, an experience, a new creation. And live inside that idea for these moments. Touch something that relates to that idea. See yourself in the experience or with the manifestation of your desire. See what the light looks like in the space, what the air moving around you is. Is there something you can taste in association with this? Are there any smells wafting to you in this experience? Whatever it is, center yourself right here, right now, in a few moments of quiet. Live into this idea to give it reality, to give it life. Rest in the silence of God.